Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm Joseph Benish, and I am honored to be your worship leader for today at UUCP. Welcome to UUCP's online worship service. In this time when we are physically distant, we believe it is an act of love and radical inclusion to worship online and to be together in this way. Welcome to our worship. Welcome home. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome. And maybe send me a little well wish. This is my first time being the worship leader online. So there's a lot of firsts happening today, hopefully, a lot of first time people joining us. The Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Phoenix strives to be a spiritual community for our time, focused on diverse theological perspectives, radical inclusion, and knowing that the issues of justice and equity shape everything that we do. With a special awareness for those who have been historically marginalized, we welcome all of every race, class, ethnicity, immigration status, sexual orientation, gender identity, religious background, mental and physical ability and disability. We welcome your whole self, your family, however you define it, into our worship as we build a community of caring, courage, and hope. Our opening words today are actually from Albert Einstein, the sort of consummate scientist of our time. He said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. We do art when we communicate through forms whose connections are not accessible to the conscious mind, yet we intuitively recognize them as something meaningful." Now, I invite you to grab a chalice or a candle from your house as we recite our covenant and light our chalice together. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to share our strength in fellowship, thus do we covenant. And sadly, we also have a memorial candle to light this morning. Reverend Paul Daniel was a member of our congregation and was a Unitarian Universalist minister. Paul served almost a dozen UU congregations as a settled minister and an interim minister. He had retired to Phoenix and was a new but very proud member of UUCP. Paul had a massive heart attack on the way to visiting his children in Colorado. He was 76 and leaves behind 2 children and 2 grandchildren. And most sadly, he leaves behind his partner, Rick. After several years of being together, Rick and Paul had finally decided to get married, and Reverend Christine was going to officiate their service in mid-September. Reverend Christine has been providing pastoral care to Rick in his time of grieving. So let us light our candle this morning for Reverend Paul Daniel with joy that he spent some of his retirement with us at UUCP and gratitude for the amount of service he gave under our Unitarian Universalist faith. Thank you.
Let me introduce our worship team. I am Sam Kirkland, and I am honored to be your pre recorded worship associate today. Our Director of Children's Ministry is Katie Resendez. Our Zoom operator today is Glenn Lockwood. And our chat chaplain today is Kathleen Waldron. Our communications and technology coordinator is Becca Briley. Our chat is open. You can chat with everyone or just to our panelists. Our service is automatically captioned for maximum accessibility. As always, we invite you to check in to UUCP on social media with the hashtag UUAnywhere. Announcements. There is much to do in our community, which you can find in our newsletter, Compass. You can sign up for Compass at our website, phoenixuu.org. Our music director, Benji Messer, is leading a sing along of Broadway tunes on Zoom this Wednesday night at 7 p.m. If you have any favorite songs from Broadway musicals, you can email Benji to request one. Or even better, you can offer to sing or lead one yourself. Our offering is being collected virtually, just like our service. We ask you to be generous in your giving to support the mission of our beloved community. You can text UUCP to 73256. You can donate through the website, or you can send a check. And if you haven't sent in your pledge for the next fiscal year, please do so as soon as you can. You can find the link in the chat. And for all you give to our congregation, we are so grateful.
Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing
Good morning, everyone. I'm Katie Resendez, and I'm the Director of Children's Ministry here at UUC Phoenix. I'll bring a song to sing and a rose in the winter time. I have always loved that song. It makes me think of memory and all sorts of things, but I think it's really funny to sing it in Phoenix because when do roses bloom in Phoenix? Yeah, the winter. Anyway, that's just me judging someone else's lyrics and art, but the song itself is really beautiful and it makes sense in the vast majority of places. So it's like when we go to a museum or to the opera, I love the opera, or a ballet performance, or a breakdance performance, or to an art fair, and we're being asked to judge that art and to decide if we like it or not. If we've paid for it, there's this idea of purchasing art and that it could be good or bad. There's this moment in our heads of, do I like this art and is it good art? Which in those situations, it makes sense because the art itself is a product and it was created by people who are working in a professional setting. And we as consumers, so that means people who are buying it or trading for it, can judge whether or not it's good or bad. But with the rest of the art in the world, which I would say is like 96% of the art in the world isn't professional commodity, isn't to be purchased. It doesn't matter if you think it's good or bad. Your opinion doesn't matter. Okay, what do I mean? So, have you ever been handed a picture by someone that they just drew? And you look at it, they haven't even said anything. They might even just say, I drew this. And you look at it, and the first thing that comes to your brain is that you're supposed to say, oh, that's so lovely. Even if it's not really lovely, even if it's something you don't really like or you don't think it was well done, but something in your brain tells you you're supposed to tell them how pretty it is. Why? Well, part of it is that we're trained to be insincere about the art that people create. And it's such a strange thing. Insincere means when you say something, but you put all these other layers so that the thing that you're saying isn't actually what you mean. But what I want us to work on is being sincere. So that's the opposite. To be sincere is to say something without any pretext, extra meanings, other meanings, just being purely honest, saying something with just one meaning. So how do you do that if someone hands you a piece of art? Well, the first thing to do is to remember that we shouldn't expect one another to be perfect at their hobbies, at their doodles, at what they do in their free time, at what they do for coping mechanisms. You don't have to be perfect with pastels and the most talented crocheter and the best dancer in the world to dance, to crochet, to draw. You can just do those things and not be very good at them. You don't even have to be trying to get better at them. If it's just the art you make and you're just doing it because it makes you feel good, you don't have to get any better unless you want to. And the better is up to you what that looks like. So remember that in your head, that when someone hands you a drawing, they don't have to be perfect at it. They're not a professional, right? I think of when my Aunt Barb would put Band-Aids on me. I got cut a lot as a kid. I didn't expect her to be a perfect nurse because she wasn't a professional. She was a teacher. She taught me things well. But she did well enough with her Band-Aids. Same thing. You don't expect someone handing your drawing to be perfect. Okay, so what do we say and how do we say something sincere? Well, first, we remember that they don't have to be perfect. Second, we remember that if it's good or bad, if we think it's good or bad, doesn't matter. Just comment on it. Things with the drawing. Do you like how they use their colors? Comment on that. Is your favorite color red? This deep red here? I love that color red. It makes me so happy. Or what I always say when I see someone's drawing, because I like to know what an artist put into it, is, can you tell me about that? What is your picture about? Oh, it's just scribbles? Cool. Oh, it's a story about the 10 million faces in the Batcave? That's so cool. What made you think of that? So there are ways to be sincere about art because you don't have to always be the judge. If you hear someone sing a song, they might have the most lovely voice in the world, They might not sound good. They might sound awful to your ears. But if you listen to music from all over the world, you learn that there is singing that sounds wonderful to you, and there is singing that sounds terrible to you. And there's always someone who feels the exact opposite. So questions like, did it feel good to sing that song? Did you have to practice long? Why did you choose that one? What's your favorite part of that song? Where did you learn it? Be curious about the piece of art, not judgmental. And now here's the other one, dancing. So there are many of y'all, and I've heard you say it, that say, I don't dance. And then when I talk to you a little bit more about it, it's because you're really self-conscious about how you dance and how you look, and you get embarrassed and you don't want anyone to see you. Your body loves to move, even if it's just a finger, just your eyebrows. Your body loves to move. Let yourself dance when it needs to. And when you see someone else dance, you can roll your eyes at them, you can judge them, you can think they're foolish, but why? Why put energy into being unkind? The best, most kind, wonderful, flattering thing you can say, and if you're looking to pick someone up for a date and you see them dancing, you want to get their phone number, is to say, it looks like you had so much fun dancing like that. Because imagine if every time we offered a piece of art to someone, instead of deciding if it was good or bad, they instead said, I see the you in this art, and I see how you put you in this art, and thank you for sharing it. How brave we would all become. Let's help one another be courageous, because we're all artists, and our art has power. You are so very powerful and so very loved.
Wow. That music, Katie's storytelling. Sorry, it's all pretty amazing. I'm just so honored to be a part of this. Right now is the time when we share the joys and sorrows of our community. Being together, it is good to share. It is good to support each other, to connect. So for those of us who are new to this, we write any joys and shares that you would like to share publicly in the chat, and you'll send that to the panelists and everyone. Or if you'd like to share a joy and sorrow privately, just send it to the panelists, and we will hold it in our hearts. So please write any joys and sorrows in that chat box. There we have a little bit of a format to help me read them. So put your name at the beginning, so I know who you are. If you want it to be private, then just say the word private at the beginning. So private, then your name, or just your name. and then the word joy or sorrow, and then kind of write out, what it is that you would like me to share with the community. In a few sort of succinct words, and then I'll do my best to read those. But again, no pressure. So if there's something that you want us to hold privately, you can write the word private and just send it to the panelists. I will go ahead and start with a joy. I just got back from LA, from the Santa Monica area where my cousin lives. I was able to go out there with my brother and my niece and see our cousin, my brother and I's cousin and his family, spend a couple days on the beach near the water. And anybody who knows, who spent time near the ocean knows that it has such a magical and kind of healing power. I think a lot of, in this art service, I know a lot of artists have written poems, painted pictures, sang songs about the ocean. And so I hope all of us get some time in the ocean in our lives, because it is magical. From Bella, a joy, she got to eat fast food. That sounds like someone reflecting the moment of that from maybe within a family that's really focused on eating, good, healthy food. So that can be a joy. Road trips, for me and my family, are one place where the fast food might come in a bit more. From Nancy and Dave, a joy that we have downsized, sold our house, and are moving into a one-bedroom apartment on Friday. We feel liberated. Thank you, Melissa Schwartz. Yay for downsizing. In our capitalist commodified world, we could all use a little more Marie Kondo in our life. Michelle and Sam, who you saw in the video earlier, are joyful to be in Ocean City. Hey, Ocean. Ocean City, Maryland, awaiting the arrival of our grandbabies and their parents for a wonderful vacation. Yay, Sam and Michelle. A joy from Nigel Perez. Happy to teach my mom to surf. What? I haven't heard this yet. And happy to be watching church from the beach. Oh my gosh. So the service today is about arts and the ocean. Thank you for sharing that, Nigel. A joy from Melly. Melly would like to share a joy. We are all beautiful museums of human connections. Each person is a unique museum, and some museums are not worth revisiting. Some museums I come back to every year or every day. At the end of the day, I am grateful for each and every one of you here today. Smiley face. Thank you, Melly. That is very well said. A joy from Barbara Cawthorn. Dave and I celebrated our 63rd anniversary yesterday in Denver. We celebrate with our son and our grandson. Yay, anniversaries, and yay, grandkids. We do want to call out a sorrow, a global sorrow of brothers and sisters and family across the globe. And can we just take a moment to recognize the people in Haiti and Afghanistan? Thank you, Karen Tenaple, for that. So if we could just take a moment to hold all those people and their families in our hearts. Thank you. From Donna Talbot, a joy. I can wear real shoes now, not just flip-flops. Foot surgery worked. Yay. Yay, flip-flops. I feel like that's got to be one of the official shoe wear of Arizona. A joy from Shannon Fletcher. Being able to spend my 40th birthday with family and friends and the most amazing partner a person could ask for. Thank you for sharing that, Shannon. You're pretty close to 42 when life, the universe, and everything becomes clear. The number out of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe. And so I'll just say one last one, just to give people time to type. It looks like we might be at the end of the sharing of the joys and sorrows. But I really just want to say a joy to everybody willing to post and share. we come from a society that hides things, medically, emotionally, socially. So I love this practice, and for me, it's a joy of the practice of you to start sharing things out loud, the joys and the sorrows, because life is that swirly, mix of colors on a palette, where we get both, and they wouldn't be one without the other. So thank you, everyone, for sharing. That is a joy in and of itself, the willingness to share with each other and be present with each other, even in an online forum. So thank you. So that moves us nicely into our meditation and prayer moment. So we invite you to a time of meditation and prayer. We invite you to center yourselves wherever you're at in your heart, in your life, in your geography. We invite you to put your feet on the floor if you wish, to settle in place, to take a few deep breaths. Thank you. Amen. Blessed be, and Ashe.
Good morning. As a member of UUCP, I set a goal to collaborate with all of the musicians in our congregation, and mostly I have. However, since the advent of COVID 19, my performances have been recorded, humbling, and gratifying. Nothing's as exasperating as the fifth, or for that matter, the 15th take of a performance. I inevitably conclude that much like performing in person, Performing as part of a video production can engender its own level of joie de vivre. That's French for exuberant enjoyment of life. I told Benji early in the pandemic, about April of 2020, right after Michelle and I met our youngest grandbaby baby, Devin, that I was feeling extremely grateful for her birth and would love to record a version of Grateful with Mary Coda. Mary was wonderful to work with, and while I certainly miss rehearsing and singing with her live, she is always considerate and thoughtful, whatever the medium. Later in the year, I was able to introduce my friend, Joe Jinks, a wonderful singer songwriter and activist, to a couple of Unitarian Universalist congregations. I assumed that he'd record a song or two, and instead, he joined our service live. Joe appearing live was great serendipity and probably wouldn't have been as easy to do in person. More recently, members of the Dissidents reunited to sing a wonderful song for the late Fred Garza. We might not have been able to do it as expeditiously if we were in person. It didn't matter so much that it was raw and somewhat rushed. It wasn't about us, it was all about our love for Fred and his family. In July, Mary again accompanied me, this time to honor my mother's birthday. Mary and Benji helped to amplify our beacon of love to folks not only inside and outside of our congregation. My fervent prayer is that it even reaches other planes of existence. I'd like to take a special moment to thank Benji Messer for his wonderful skills, talents, and direction. Benji has handled the responsibilities and circumstances that have been heaped upon us all with an abundance of grace, sensitivity, and more love than I could envision. I consider sharing my musical gifts to be a spiritual practice that's never perfect and always purpose filled. Thanks and gratitude to all the musicians who help to boost our signal of love.
Thank you, Sam. Before my closing words on arts in our community, I want to make sure and mention the Share the Plate again. You know, we saw that link up earlier, but I wanted to give you a little bit more information about where that money goes. And for anybody new, once a month, we share the donations that would normally go to the congregation. We just give those right back out to a local nonprofit or organization doing good in the community. And so for August, the Share the Plate recipient is Habitat for Humanity, Central Arizona. And Amy thought this might be a good fit for the art service because, you know, construction and design, you know, are also an art, you know, and it takes skill and dedication. So with a vision of a world where everyone has a decent place to live, Habitat for Humanity Central Arizona was born out of the need to provide affordable housing for hardworking low-income families. Each family partners with Habitat volunteers to build their own home. And at the end, they purchase it from Habitat at a 0% interest mortgage. Each Habitat home is only possible through the generosity of local donors, one of whom might be you today. Your donation helps Habitat purchase the materials needed to build each house. Also, Habitat is looking for volunteers to help families build their homes. If you're interested in participating at a date sometime in the future, please let UUCP member Jim Sorgatz know you are interested. He will be in attendance at coffee hour at the very end of this service. So please let Jim know he'll be in the coffee hour. I also wanted to celebrate a joy that was delayed because of technology. from Laurel. My husband and I went to the opening day of Art Intersections exhibit, All Art Arizona, yesterday in Gilbert. If you go on a Saturday, you can combine it with a visit to Gilbert's Farmers Market and possibly lunch at the Euro Cafe, because culinary arts, let's celebrate those too. Thank you, Laurel. So now just a few words on our theme today, arts in our community. And an extra shout out to Katie for her words on sincerity. I kind of used to, sometimes still do qualify myself as an artist. And she said so much good stuff in her piece about perfection in art as in life is never the goal. Having worked in the arts, I realize that arts is also in and of itself one of the hardest things to define, because in the arts and culture world, in the arts and culture sector, there are, professional artists who it's their full-time job, and they've worked or studied or apprenticed. And there are part-time artists who do it on the side, maybe a side hustle, maybe they just enjoy doing it. And there are hobbyists. But the reason why arts is sometimes kind of hard to define is because there aren't generally hobbyists in most other professional sectors, like lawyers or nurses or teachers. Like, if you like broke your leg, would you go to your friend who's like, oh yeah, I was doing some nursing like 2 a.m. last night while I was watching TV, and I'm fine. Let me see your leg. I'll fix it right up. So, arts is this really amalgamous space, and we often say arts and culture. I say arts for short, where it happens in so many different ways for so many different people. And for me, that's one of the beautiful things about it. So when Katie was talking about, perfection is not the goal, I love that. And I especially love what she said. Just ask questions. We don't have to like everything, but we can be interested in each other. So thank you, Katie. Ask questions and be courageous, like she said. And courage is really what I feel like we saw and are still seeing in the arts in the pandemic. Arts and culture were shook up in an unprecedented and unforeseeable way. For most of the last 18 months, our traditional methods of performing in visual arts were literally put on hold for the safety of each other and everybody else, and the safety of vulnerable people. But as artists will do, they found other ways to express themselves and connect with each other and connect with us. I'm sure many of us have seen, videos of people singing across alleyways and in neighborhoods, and artists sharing their process for free, in the online interwebs and digital domains, just letting their art get back out there to us. And also, there were a lot of people out there, and again, there may be someone, on this worship webinar today who refound their passion for the arts, who picked up their guitar or their harmonica or their drums, hopefully maybe not their drums for the sake of their neighbors or their house members. And in the note of artists, I want to give a shout out. I didn't realize Sam was going to do this, so I'm also seconding Sam. An extra shout out to our main artist, Benji Messer, who has done so much in keeping our music and our community going, and more changes, again, the digital stuff than I ever could have imagined. So thank you, Benji. But going back, and leading into the video, one of the silver linings, I think, of this pandemic, was the willingness, or is the willingness, of artists being so willing to let us into their lives and let us into their process in a way that I don't think the average person maybe gets, and unless artists and have them in your inner circle. And so I want to give a shout out. I want to say thank you to all artists everywhere. And I'm really happy that we get to share with you a video of a local artist, Victoria Myers. I want to thank you, Victoria, for sharing, again, your inner workings and a piece of your mind and your heart with us.
Hi, I'm Victoria Myers. Thanks for letting me share my art with you today. I'd like to start by showing you my drafting table. This is usually where my creations start, and while I think I have many more ideas than skill, nonetheless my favorite mediums are watercolor, acrylic, and pencil. My first watercolor I'd like to show you is inspired by really just missing travel in 2020. And I had this photograph of a field of poppies from France, and so I titled this just Missing the Poppies. Next is an acrylic. I just really like the isolation and serenity of this. It was inspired by an abandoned house I saw in Alaska, and as you'll see coming up, I kind of have a thing for abandoned houses. This house was inspired by, this watercolor was inspired by a house that I saw in Oregon. And I just really like the kind of tension and mood of this impending storm. And this watercolor is like anything but tension, the complete opposite. It is so serene, and I can just imagine myself sitting under the shade of those trees. So cooped up at home, I was kind of antsy to change our space. So much was changing in our world. This vase was originally green, and now I think it really reflects the energy of the past few years. And I didn't stop there. I painted the fireplace, and then this mirror originally had a red frame, and I put it on the floor and just channeled Jackson Pollock, and now I think it has, kind of a lot more energy. I just really like this, and it was fun. And now we're outside for the rest of my tour here. My pandemic art really extended to friends and neighbors in the form of painted rocks. They just show up at their doorsteps and in their gardens. Just something to spread the love of neighborhood and friendship. And pretty much I'll paint anything that doesn't move with acrylic. Our patio wall faces north, but you can only see the Phoenix Mountain Preserve from our front yard. So this is kind of an ongoing work in progress, but our wall now brings the preserve view into the backyard. Sometimes art can go further. I think sometimes it really needs to. And that brings me to my last share. May 25th, 2020. What could I do? I was afraid of the pandemic, afraid of the virus, and unfortunately there are far too many stories. But I think the measure of this little front yard installation is that it got our neighbors talking. And that, my friends, gives me hope.
Okay, everyone sing after me. Here we go. Wake up in the community.
Wake up in the community.
Tell me, what do you see?
Tell me, what do you see?
Wake up in the community.
Wake up in the community.
Tell me, what do you see?
Tell me, what do you see?
I see love in the community.
I see love in the community.
If you ask me, that's what I see.
If you ask me, that's what I see.
I see love in the community.
I see love in the community.
If you ask me, that's what I see.
If you ask me, that's what I see.
Wake up in the community.
Wake up in the community.
Tell me, what do you see?
Tell me, what do you see?
Wake up in the community.
Wake up in the community.
Tell me, what do you see?
Tell me, tell me what do you see?
I hear songs in the community.
I hear songs in the community,
Melodies to bring unity.
melodies to bring unity.
I hear songs in the community.
I hear songs in the community,
Melodies to bring unity.
melodies to bring unity.
Ay, 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 ay.
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 Wake up. Oh, wake up.
Wake up. Oh, wake up. Wake up. Oh, wake up. Wake up. Oh, wake up.
That was amazing. A little bit of Benji there, who we've talked about a couple times, and so many of our other very talented congregation members. So before my closing words, we would like to invite you to coffee hour after the service. Of course, it's a virtual coffee meaning, whatever beverage of your choice, whether it be water, tea, coffee, super strong coffee, weak coffee, coffee with lots of sugar products in it, which is how both me and my niece like our coffee. It's really just a vessel for sugar and chocolate. The link is now in the chat, and there's a passcode to that as well. But a coffee hour is a great way to meet some of the other people who are on this webinar and from our congregation face to face on whatever device you are watching and listening on. And it'll also be on the final slide. So if you're new, if you're visitors, we hope you'll join us. We are a friendly bunch if you haven't gotten that from all of these videos so far. There will be a lay pastoral room for those who may need a little extra support this week as well. So those links are there. And, just a little reminder to check on each other, either in this coffee hour, the lay pastoral care, just as we've been doing, just sharing and checking on each other every day if we can. So my closing words are actually a request, and it's a light request. I think artists have given us so much in general, but they've given us and the world so much, especially during this pandemic. So the request is, in whatever way possible, small or large, whatever way is healthy for you, to give back to the artists and support them. And that can be as simple and easy as, liking some of their posts or commenting on them in the digital realm. It could be telling them personally, digitally, call them, text them if they're far away, or of course in person. And Katie gave us, great guidance on that, talking about their work, asking questions about it. And then, of course, if you're able and if it's possible for you, support them financially, whether it's buying a piece, buying a subscription to an organization that pays it forward to artists. Because we do live in a capitalist society, and so money always helps. That's the world that we live in. But if we must be distance, or you're a distance from them, words of appreciation and admiration in a sincere way are still always a good thing to share with artists and with each other. Amen. Blessed be. Ashe. Go in peace. Go in love. Thank you.